Imagine yourself as a U.S. soldier deployed to Afghanistan. You're on a routine patrol with your unit, and you hear the chatter of Taliban forces on the radio. A reconnaissance aircraft soon radios down to you that you are outnumbered. You realize you need air support. The only aircraft patrolling the area at the time is a B-1B bomber. However, this aircraft has already dropped all of its munitions. But you need something to happen, or you're going to be in big trouble. You radio up to the aircraft that you need support. The aircraft tells you they're out of weapons, but you request them to drop down and do a low-level pass anyway. The following is going to sound a little like this. Shortly after that, the reconnaissance aircraft radioed down to the troop commander and said that he saw Taliban forces in full retreat. Over the past decade or so, the Department of Defense has discussed retiring the B-1. In fact, even after 9/11, they did retire several aircraft only to recommission them back into service. Today I'm going to tell you why they should not retire the B-1. I'm going to explain the history and the facts about the aircraft. I'm going to compare costs against newer aircraft and the development of new aircraft, and I'm going to explain to you the crucial role that it has played in the past and still plays today. I'll begin by telling you about some of the history and the facts of the B-1. According to the B-1 fact sheet, as found on the Air Force website, the program started in the early 1970s. It was going to replace the B-52 bomber and would be the world's first supersonic aircraft. Now, in 1977, rising production costs caused the Carter administration to scrap the program entirely. But in 1981, the Reagan administration decided that they would improve the program and revive it. This new aircraft was called the B-1B and had several unique features, one of which is called the swing wing design. This means that at high speeds, the aircraft wings can sweep back to allow for supersonic speed. Now, each engine has 30,000 pounds of thrust. It can carry over 265,000 pounds of fuel and move at speeds of 900 plus miles an hour. Also, it carries more weapons than any other bomber in the fleet, at 75,000 pounds of munitions. So now that you know about the history and some of the facts about the B-1, I'm going to compare the costs to newer aircraft and the development of even new long-range bombers. Now, according to the same fact sheet found on the Air Force website, the B-1 cost $283 million, which seems like a lot of money. But if you compare that to the B-2 stealth bomber, which costs $1.2 billion per aircraft, it doesn't seem so bad anymore. The B-2 is a good aircraft, but can only move at speeds of subsonic, which is much slower than the B-1 supersonic speed, and carries just a little bit over half the munitions that the B-1. The B-2 carries 40,000 pounds of munitions as compared to the B-1's 75,000 pounds. Now, there's been talk of building a new long-range bomber, but according to the Center for Strategic and Budgetary Assessments, as found in Defense Daily, published in 2010, the development of a new bomber would cost between $36 and $46 billion, and that's only for about 50 aircraft. So now that I've compared costs against the B-2 and the development of a newer bomber, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the crucial role that the B-1 has played in the past and still plays today. Now, during the first 6 months of Operation Iraqi Freedom, the B-1 flew 40% of all coalition missions. In the beginning of Iraqi Freedom, the B-1 flew only 1% of all the missions, but dropped 43% of the Joint Direct Attack Munitions, or JDAMs, which was the primary munition that was used against the Iraqi forces. In March 2011, the B-1 launched a campaign against Muammar Gaddafi's forces in Libya in support of Operation Odyssey Dawn. They did this from their home station at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. Lastly, the B-1 still deploys to forward operating locations today in support of troops on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq. So now that I've told you why the Air Force should not retire the B-1, I'll remind you. I've told you about the background, the history, and some of the facts about the B-1. I've compared the cost to newer aircraft and the development of a new long-range bomber. and I've also explained to you the crucial role that it's played in the past and still plays today. I've seen what this aircraft can do. I've worked it for 10 years. I was there in 2003 for the Shock and Awe campaign. I can promise you that there is still a need for this aircraft. Ask any of the troops on the ground if they think the U.S. should retire the B-1, and I think that they would beg to differ. Thank you.